Hi, I'm Jim Fielding, and welcome to Jim Fielding and Friends, a podcast where we explore what it truly means to live and lead with authenticity, kindness, and impact. Each episode brings together leaders who inspire me, people who lead with heart, break barriers, and redefine success. If you're looking for honest, insightful, and thought-provoking conversations, pull up a chair. Let's talk.
We can choose who we love. Nobody's letting go. Chosen family.
Hello, everyone, all my kind and beautiful human beings. I am so excited for this edition of Jim Fielding and Friends. This is one of those combo episodes where we're going to talk about the Leading with Pride book club at Alstora, but also I would have had our guest on this podcast eventually, regardless of the fact that they also wrote an amazing book. So it's perfect that they did both. And this is the December Leading with Pride book club selection, which is perfect for gift giving. Hint, hint. And here it is, Go Wisdom. And I am thrilled to bring on board here one of the authors, Dr. Brent Ridge. Brent, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, so good to be here, Jim. I'm looking forward to it.
Your book, your life, we're going to get into it. Like, it has been so inspirational. But when I did Leading with Pride book club, as you know, it's hard to find a lot of leadership and inspirational books written by the community for the community. And it's not just for the community, the same way my book is. It's not only for the queer community to read, but and when yours popped up, I was like, thank God. So I'm just going to be honest with everybody because, yes, we're videotaping and we're recording. I am like a fan of Brent and Josh's. And it started on reality TV. He knows this already because I think it was 2011, right? When Beekman, the fabulous Beekman boys came out. And I had heard your name before because you had worked at Martha.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you were like on my TV. And let's face it, a pioneer in reality TV. I mean, 2011 is a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And I loved that show because it was about your journey and you were so honest and so vulnerable and all that. Then, okay, they were on Amazing Race. And I think that was like 2013. And I was a huge Amazing Race fan. But I never did the research before. I would just turn on Amazing Race when they told me it was time to turn on. And then I see you guys like running around the world. And I mean, it's not a spoiler because it's 2013. Then they won on top of everything else. So yes, I'm an official fan, Brent. You know that.
You know it all.
But I'm more a fan of what you guys have built and the journey. So the fact that you put it into a book, and I guess that's really my first question is why the book? Why now? Like, what made you think, okay, now's the time to write the book with everything you have going on? Like, why write the book?
Yeah, well, a couple of reasons. One, I think we're at a particular stage in the growth of our company, and we wanted to make sure that all of the stories and the architecture that we put into our company was collected in place. Because we have had this company for 16 years. A lot of, things have gone down.
Amazing.
And so we wanted it all in one place so that, even years from now when we are retired or whatnot, the origins are there. And so people can always reference it. So we wanted that. And then also, when it comes to entrepreneurship, we just felt that over the past decade, there had been too much emphasis on too few representations of success. Because if you look at social media, really the only things that you are fed are either tech billionaires or people trying to sell you a course who say they've made a lot of money. You have no idea if they have or not.
Right.
Or like an influencer sitting in a model of a private jet, trying to. And so we're like, you know what? Those are all fine. Like if you want to aim for any of those things, that's fine. But we wanted to write a book that says, you know what? You can be successful starting a business on Main Street in your community that gives back to your community.
Mm.
And we wanted to give a representation of a business that did that and is successful and inspire other people who want to do the same thing.
You know what's so funny when you were saying that? I realize now reading it, and then I went back and reread parts getting ready for this. It is a brand Bible. Like
Hmm.
it is I can see it being a legacy document. Like if you go to work at Beekman, like read the book, right?
Yes.
Because it's culture and it's your ethics and it's your morals and your values. Like it really is a brand Bible for any of us that have worked in branded environments. Like it's just a long form brand Bible,
It,
basically,
you're
but
absolutely
done in a very storytelling way.
a
Like
storytelling
very,
way that
yeah.
anybody can learn from. And what's so funny that only someone like you with your history and your knowledge would pick that out, because obviously we could have gone to many different publishers to publish this
Yes.
book. And we said, no, we want to go with Harvard Business Review because we want the gold stamp of approval, saying, no, this is a
Yes.
brand who did it the right way. And this is what we can all learn from. So,
Well, I love, first off, we love Harvard Business Review. I did not, I hope to publish a book with them someday. My first book was not with them, but I did a couple of their podcasts and I actually went in person and spoke with them and it was unbelievable. And what I also love, because when you're talking about social media and the feeds and it's basically sanitized and all
mhm,
that kind of stuff. I mean, this is a story about building a brand and building a company from product, like physical product,
mhm,
and not, I'm sorry, AI, right? It's not fake.
mhm,
It's not like you're, on the back of some green screen. Like
mhm.
I remember even in the television show when you guys were like, you know, getting out to the goats, right? And
Yeah,
like going through the muck and like shearing the goats and milking the goats and all the things we were doing to the goats.
yeah.
And that's real. And I, probably showing my age and my background, like I love product, but I love quality, innovative, differentiated product that gives back and has a sense of community. And you guys check so many of those
Well,
boxes.
it's so funny that you talk about that and you brought up the reality TV, because to us, those are the receipts, right? Because
Hmm.
so many brands are like now, people sit
Yeah.
in the boardroom and they're like, oh, we need to hit this target and these
Hmm.
people and this the demographic. And there, you can have I would say a very good business, a successful, monetarily
Hmm.
successful business,
Sure.
but you're not going to really build a legacy business that way.
Mm-mm.
And I think for us, we had the great fortune, we didn't know we were going to have, at the time, of doing all this documentation of our brand, through
Mm.
reality TV, through our Amazing Race,
Yeah.
QVC. Like we just have layers upon layers of authentic storytelling. And those are
Hmm.
the receipts, and they live forever.
They
And
do. And you have
yeah,
assets. I mean,
yeah,
besides receipts, they're assets.
yes,
Like,
yeah.
and you don't have to fake them, right?
Hmm.
I mean, they are like, to your point, it's like a living video library.
Yeah.
I guess one of my questions, I'm going to jump around to my questions, but like, did you feel like I think it was a great time for the book, but have you ever felt in these last 16 years like, okay, we're good? Like, we're at the right
Mm.
time? Like, not we're done, because I think I know you well enough to know you're not done. But was there a time where you kind of woke up and you and Josh looked at each other and were like, this is good? Like we've arrived, I guess, is what I'm asking,
I don't know if any founder ever feels that way.
I know. I
Uh,
knew you were going to say that.
because you're always trying to do something, or you've got more responsibility or whatnot.
Hmm.
Did we ever feel like we had yeah, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Um, and this, we talk a little bit about this in the book, but we were about, I would say, 8 year, maybe not year 9 into the company, maybe year 8.
Hmm.
And we were getting ready to have our big nationwide rollout in Ulta Beauty. And, so that necessitated that we really look at the brand because it had grown so organically and was just kind
Hmm.
of all very natural, but very all over the place because that's how brands grow. They're kind of living, breathing
Right.
things. And so we said, okay, we have to kind of really crystallize our brand because when you're in Ulta, you have 3 foot of space. And for people who have never seen the reality show, never read any of the books, how do you communicate what this brand is about in 3 feet of space and like 5 words, you know? And so Josh has this great saying. He's like, um, you can never really see the mountain when you're standing on it, right?
Mm.
And so we hired this outside team to come in to just like hear our story, hear how the company had developed, see where we are at the moment, and just give
Hmm.
outside perspective on what has made this company so special to so many people. Like Jim Fielding. Why does Jim
Yeah.
Fielding love Beekman?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so they heard the story, going back, from Farmer John. We took in this, homeless goat farmer, and
Yeah.
we were in this tiny village of 500 people in rural upstate New York. They helped us wrap these bars of soap around a dining room table. Like they immersed themselves. Like they came to Sharon Springs and spent a week there with us on the farm, just trying to, figure out
Yeah.
what was the magic. And at the, I'd say on day 3, the head of the organization, the company's called Tether, and they're a branding agency, and the founder is Stanley Hamesworth, and he said, you know what, you're not a beauty company, you are a company about kindness. And
Mm.
that right there, it was like all of the pieces falling into place, because of course we would have never said at the time, oh, we're a company about kindness, like, because we could.
Hmm.
But when you look at how we built the company, who we brought into the company,
Yes.
how we appeared on the Fabulous People Boys, how we appeared on The Amazing Race, we were a company that was about putting kindness out into the world. And once that he gave us that one word, it was,
Hmm.
and then we immediately saw, here's how we incorporate that into every communication that our brand does from here on out.
It's unbelievable, and I love. I mean, because the other thing I think in reading the book, I mean, the other word you guys have been is authentic, right?
Mm.
So I think it's like authentic and kindness, right? Which is where I'm trying to spend my time is authenticity, and
And
I've
you're
had
doing
to
a good
add.
job. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, but
Yeah.
I've had to add the word radical to kindness too,
Mm-hmm.
because I think
Mm.
the world is so unkind right
Mm.
now. We could get
Mm.
into that, but I think we have to like almost go farther to the end of kindness. And
Yeah.
I think the mutual friends we share, like Mindy Grossman and stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
kindness makes sense that you, me, like we like kindness, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's how I led, it's how I built teams. I never was the kind of leader or manager that was harsh or
Mm-hmm.
dictatorial, or I mean,
It's,
I was driven, I was competitive, I was aggressive, all of those things, but I always did it with kindness. And I love Tether, great plug for them, that they came to you with that. It's funny because when I was going off on my own, and I've only been on the entrepreneurial journey 2 years now, a little over 2 years, but about 3 years ago, I started working on the website. And it's so funny you say that, Brent, because I hired this incredible firm in San Francisco called Office, who I had worked with when I was at Disney on Disney Baby and Disney Store. And they came back and said, when we think of you, we think of joy and credibility.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, like, and to your point, like from that day, I was like, you're right. That's what the website has to be is joy and credibility. You're right. That's what my brand is. My brand is not the book. The book is like one manifestation of the brand, but then everything I do has to have an element of joy and an element of credibility to it. So I love that yours is like wrapped around kindness. And it comes out so much in the book. I mean, like in some of the principles you guys have. I mean, the whole community principle it comes out. I mean, I love the story of you guys figuring out how long it takes to wrap a bar of soap and tie twine, and that I just picture somebody there with a stopwatch figuring out like it has to go
Josh.
fast.
It was
Yeah.
Josh. He was timing me. Yeah.
You weren't fast enough, Brett, as I
I wasn't.
recall.
No, but I
But
did.
you had a neighbor that was. You had a neighbor that was a really good rapper, right? Or
Well,
somebody.
there were many neighbors, because
Yeah.
the story, that story was that we had gotten this was about probably a year into the company. I had been going to Henry Bendel in New York City and setting up a table and selling the bars of soap myself, and
That's
remind
like high-end farmers market for anybody
yeah.
who's ever been to Henry Bendel. That's
Now, mind
high-end.
you, this is a person, I'm talking about me,
Yeah.
that had been on faculty at Mount Sinai Hospital,
Yeah.
had my MBA, had been an executive at Martha Stewart,
Yeah.
and here I was, just like every other salesperson on the floor of Bendel, with my product, I'm selling it. And the
Bluntly, he was pimping the bars of soap. You
yes,
were, but
yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
That's good.
And the buyer from anthropology had come through like on a scouting mission because Henry
Mhm.
Bendel, everybody would come and see what the
Yes, research,
yeah.
research, research.
And so
Yeah.
they had put in their first order. They said, "We want to bring you to anthropology." They were our first nationwide retail partner,
Amazing.
and they ordered 52,000 bars of soap. And this was for the following holiday, so we had about 6 or 7 months to get the order.
Hmm.
Still, there were three of us. Me,
Yeah.
Josh, soap maker Deb. Farmer John was doing the milking and
Yeah.
the
Soap maker Deb,
Deb,
love
yeah.
her. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And Deb McKillicuddy.
Yeah.
And so, we got the bars of soap made. Then we do a type of soap making process where the soaps have to cure for several weeks, like 3 to 4 weeks, till they harden
Mm.
off and all the excess moisture comes out. And so we had finally gotten all the bars done. And then we had to wrap them because you can't wrap them until they're completely dry.
Try. Yeah.
And so I just started wrapping. It was taking me originally about 22 seconds per bar of soap to wrap them. And we could not, because our margins were so thin, we could
Yeah.
not afford to hire anybody else. So the only option was I'm going to sit here and wrap 52,000 bars of soap. And and then I was doing it every day, like just wrapping. And so finally we got down to like maybe 2 or 3 weeks out from when the order had to ship to anthropology, which is a
Hmm.
big important date because when you start working with a national retailer like that, you have chargebacks if you don't hit the ship date.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
yes.
And which
And
we,
it's got to be packed a certain way,
oh
and they
yeah.
have. Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh
for
yeah.
sure.
And this was our first big one. So we were like learning as we go. And so finally we were like several weeks out and Josh kept telling me, we're never going to get this done, never going to get it done. And I'm like, I'm someone who has magical thinking until someone shows me the numbers. I have true belief in numbers.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so Josh, I was at our dining room table wrapping the bars of soap. They were all stacked in our hallway. And Josh sat in the kitchen and he timed me. And by that point, I'd gotten down to 7 seconds per bar of soap, wrapping each bar of soap. And he's like, if you do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the next 3 or 4 weeks, you will not get it done.
yeah.
And so we were still shipping out online orders too at the time. And I was taking my online orders down to the postal office to, send out my priority mail packages. And the postmistress there knew me very well because I came in to drop off orders every day. And she's
Right.
like, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, it's, I don't know how we're going to get this order done." And Maria, bless her heart, she became like our second employee. She said, "Oh, well, I know everybody in Sharon Springs, so I will call any like housewife, retiree,
Mm.
whatever, stay-at-home person and see
Yeah.
if they want to come over and help, like a
Mm.
quilting bee, like a quilting bee." And
Totally.
and she did the phone tree and we had for the next 4 weeks, we had people that we didn't really know in our house for 24 hours a day. There'd be like 2 or 3 of them at a time who would show up, whatever was convenient for them. They would let themselves in. They would sit down at the dining room table and they were wrapping the bars of soap because they were building a community. Like they built a community around that dining room table.
I mean, that it makes me weak. Like I'm weeping. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I had like little tears in the corner of my. I mean, it's like the modern barn raising, right?
True.
Like it. And by the way, as a consumer of the soap, and I don't know, I don't probably did not buy one of those
Hmm.
bars, but
Hmm.
like, You feel that, right? Like it's in that community and that kindness word again. And that neighbor is in because it is handmade. Like the
Hmm.
soap is handmade and hand wrapped. And
Yes.
I'm laughing because I wondered, when did somebody wake up and be like, 52,000 bars is a shitload of soap? Like
Yeah.
that's a lot of soap.
Well,
Like,
now we've done 60 million bars of soap.
oh, can you
But
believe that?
the thing is like, now, yes, this is, how our company started. It's why
Right.
we still call every customer a neighbor, because
Yes.
those neighbors who helped us get off the ground. And, even though now we're really more of kind of a biotech company because we started
Hmm.
researching goat milk. What were the nutrients in goat
Right.
milk that could influence the microbiome of the skin? And so we really develop products
Mm.
based on this research that we've done on the goat milk, and how we continue to incorporate kindness into that is that
Hmm.
on every product, when you look at the INKI list, which is the ingredient list on every
Hmm.
product, you've got your
Hmm.
ingredients, goat milk and blah blah blah. And
Mhm.
then the very last ingredient on that official INKI list is kindness. And
Mm.
the reason that we do that is not only because yes, it's part of our DNA,
Right.
but we know, and I'm sure you know this too, that kindness changes your body on a cellular level.
It does.
And like with DNA methylation, it actually changes your body on a cellular level. And so much, particularly in our industry, in the beauty industry, you talk about glow and you want that glow to your skin. And we're
Mhm.
like, our glow, yes, comes from the nutrients in goat milk, but it first and foremost comes from kindness. And
Mhm.
when you give
Mm.
or receive an act of kindness, the
Mm.
dopamine surges in your body, the oxytocin surges in your body. And these are the types of
Mhm.
things that cause that glowy feeling. And that glowy feeling shows up on your skin. And so we say every morning when you use one of our products or you're in the shower and you happen to be using a bar of soap, that is a moment of self kindness that changes the way you treat every other person in the world when you walk out the door. And it is changing your body on a cellular level.
Oh my god. I mean, I love, yeah, because I love when you say biotech because, quote, "You're in the beauty industry," right?
Hmm.
But you're talking about the inner beauty and the inner glow too. Of course, what you're putting on the skin is tested and
Hmm. Yeah.
scientific. And I love your science background, like the doctor in you and the MBA in you. I can see this like head and heart, like this balance thing going on. And I think knowing enough about Josh too, you guys both have that head and heart. And like he's sitting there with the stopwatch measuring, like, and I think all of us that have been successful in business combine head and heart. You have to,
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
you have to combine IQ and EQ. Like, I
Yeah.
love EQ and I squawk about EQ and I'm talking about soft skills all the time. It kind of bothers me that they're called soft skills, but I tell people all the time, listen, I worked at Disney and DreamWorks and Fox. I didn't get where I was getting because I was nice. Like,
Mm-mm.
I mean, I also had to know my stuff. Like, I
Those are
had to
data-driven
study.
companies.
Yes.
That
And
I
you
mean,
had to study.
we
Like,
think
yeah.
Disney is like such a great role model, even for our own company,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
because when you go and talk to Disney, and we got to do a fantastic presentation at Disney about this book on kindness and how we built
Yeah.
kindness. But when you go and you say, okay, how do you quantify magic? How do you like
Hmm.
when you say this is the most magical place on earth or this is the happiest place on earth? How
Hmm.
do you quantify that
Hmm.
experience that your customer is having? And they do it. I
They
mean,
do.
they have the
They
data.
measure everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there 12 years and I say all the time, I'm authentic, I'm radically kind, I care about the world, I want to give back, but I'm also a capitalist pig. Like I worked at Disney and if we weren't up 20% every year in earnings, like by the way, I say this, I worked at Disney for 12 years. We reorged 11 times. Like
Hmm.
I mean, that's what we did. We were
Hmm.
about efficiency. We were about effectiveness. We were always about new ways, but it was to create the magic for the guests, right?
That's correct.
And I love that call your customers neighbors. Obviously Disney calls their customers guests, and that's what it was about. And people say to me all the time, like, it had to be the most magical place on earth to work. It was, but it was also hard because you every time you achieved a goal, the goal got higher,
Hmm.
right? It was like, okay, I thought we did a good job with that store. Like when we opened Times Square, and I was like, okay, I thought that was good. But guess what? Oxford Street in London was a better store. Sorry, Times Square, because we made mistakes on Times Square, and the bar just kept raising. And I always said that. Um, and I think you're like this, Brent. Like I always was explaining to people at Disney, standards versus expectations. Like your standards were always really, really high. As a leader, I was good about managing my expectations, and the
Mm.
expectations would like move up, but the standards never changed. Like I
Mm-mm.
had these incredibly high standards on myself and on my team, but I wasn't maniacal. Like I would say, okay, wait a minute, we're going to get there. And I literally would wake up in the morning and be like, are we better today than we were yesterday?
Yeah.
Like that was the because there's no way. And by the way, I don't know if we would have ever, if I was still at Disney today, I don't know if we would have ever got to my standards, but I
The
think
small
there would have been
goals,
a gap.
the
Right.
small
Yeah.
steps.
Like the gap would have got
And,
tighter.
and here's the way to look at it when people talk about, capitalism. And yes, you
Yeah.
have to grow your business. Like
Yes.
if you're not growing, you're dying, like
And
basically.
you have to know your margins, like you mentioned margins
100%.
before, right? You have to know
100%.
your numbers.
But
Yeah.
here's the thing that I think Disney does well in their company culture, and I think we do well
Hmm.
at Beekman, is that the way we frame it to our employees, and our employees, and I know this is true at Disney, they, because everybody who works at Disney loves Disney, like it's
Yeah.
crazy,
For
like the
sure.
level of
For sure.
devotion. They really look at it as, yes, I'm being asked to deliver more, sometimes for less. But the
Hmm.
goal is how much magic I can bring. How can I think creatively in a different way that's going to
Hmm.
bring more magic? Same with us. We're like,
Hmm.
what can we do that is going to bring more kindness into the world? Um, and that
Yeah,
goes to
and
mindset.
it's not I love that you say that because it's not always immediately noticeable
Hmm.
too. I think that's the other thing you learn working in a kind of mission vision led environment or culture is it's going to sneak up on you, right? Like all of a sudden one day you're going to wake up and someone on your team is going to surprise you because they're going to say something and you're like, that's the most insightful thing I've heard in the last 3 months. Right.
Hmm.
But it's because of the environment that you've created that they're operating in. It's so funny
Yes.
because I've got her behind me. Like this girl, can you see her?
Yeah.
She's okay. She's in a Snow White cut. This is the Disney Store girl.
Hmm.
And everybody on their desk, I still have mine all these years later, had this picture. There was her and there was a boy in a Buzz Lightyear costume. But that's who we kept saying. Like, even when we get in meetings and things would get tough, I'd be like, we're doing it for them. We're doing it for them. We're doing it for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's having a whole moment. She has no shoes on. Her hair's not perfectly coiffed, but she is in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think putting the guest at the center of everything and then trying to exceed their expectations, which is what the Disney culture was. Like
Let
they
me turn this
wanted
in.
it to be better, even better.
Yeah, for sure. Now, let me turn this interview on you just for a second, because
Sure.
anytime I do a podcast, I'm like, what can I learn from
Of
this podcast?
course. No, it's your
Um,
time.
because think about this. Like, think about our company, and obviously,
Hmm.
16 years is not anything near like Disney, but this
This
was
day and age.
this was a company, right? This was a company that started before social media,
Yes.
and I don't know, and I want your opinion on this.
Hmm.
I don't know if, given the attention span, given the
Mm,
given the algorithm, that you will ever have companies that develop the culture the way
mhm,
Beekman, or and especially like Disney. I just don't think
mhm,
it'll ever happen again.
I
And that's
mean, it's thought provoking. I won't lie. It saddens me a little too, but I I agree with you. I think it's different for sure. And I say this all the time, even on a more foundational basis, is that I built a culture similar to what you and Josh did in person.
hmm,
Like I built like by being in it's the old days of 5 days a week in the office and traveling around the world together and visiting stores together, like the old days of retail 101. Like knowing your store managers and your district managers and training them, like those annual conferences, right? Like it was a very physical thing. I've had to learn skills over the years of like how to manage hybrid, how to manage distance. Um, I think you said it earlier though. If you're mission and vision led and you have a story to tell, you have to learn how to tell the story faster now, for
True.
sure.
Yeah.
Like I think it's interesting when the story you told about going to Ulta and how do I tell my story in 3 feet, right?
Hmm.
I think it's the same thing as like, how do I tell my story in a 30-second video, right?
Yeah.
How do I tell my story in a 30-second TikTok post,
Yeah. You don't
right?
have. This is Jim. I was just at a
Yeah.
conference this week in
Yeah. It's
City,
so crazy.
and the new metric, the new KPI that services the algorithm on TikTok and Instagram most effectively right now
Mhm.
is 3 seconds. Can you get someone's attention and make them watch your content longer than 3 seconds? If you can, that gets you into the algorithm in a way that pushes out your content faster. But 3 seconds is what you have.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's it's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
because what you're asking, again, the doctor in you, I feel coming out is like, and I can be blunt because it's my podcast. It's like the ADD, ADHD generation, right? Like, and I find myself, it's funny, even with the book, and now you've written the book, like I'm shocked how many people listen to the book versus read
Hmm.
the book,
Oh yeah.
right? Because I'm an old fashioned, like, I read your book and highlighted and put these little post-it notes in. But when I'm out on my book journey or book tour or book events, so many people said and it's funny, they don't even say I read your book. They're like, I loved listening to your book.
Yes.
And me recording my book was like a journey because I wasn't really into it. I don't love my own voice. I have a little bit of claustrophobia. Like there was a lot about the recording of the book that was stress inducing.
Hmm.
But I'm so glad I did it because I realized, and it's not only generational, but I'm reaching those people who are literally listening to the book while they're commuting, right?
Right.
Or sitting on a subway or driving in traffic.
Correct.
And I'm always going to be old school. Like I'm going to go to a bookstore and pick up books and flip through it and I'm going to highlight
Oh,
and
I've
put
got my
post-it
highlighter.
notes.
I
Yeah,
always.
yeah, I'm always going to do that. But what I have to embrace is that a lot of people, and I think that's why I did the podcast, why I launched the podcast, because I was like, well, if they're already listening to me on the book, like I might as well do a podcast, right? And again, you reach a whole different audience. But that 3 second rule, like it kind of makes me
Well,
nervous. Like the hair stands up on my neck.
and
But
here's the thing, Jim.
I
Well,
get it. You got to
one,
grab them.
you have a great voice for the podcast. It's so very compelling. But you're like a Gary V voice. I could listen
Yeah,
to Gary V
that's
all the
easy.
time.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, and I've learned this just on this book tour, like as many podcasts
Hmm.
as we've done for this book. It doesn't even matter about the podcast now. It's about the clip, that the
Yes.
video clip. So I want you to. This is the video clip. One of the video clips.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Do not do a podcast unless you have someone who are editing the video down into clips. And I'm saying that from a podcast host, and I'm saying that from the person doing
Yes.
the podcast. Don't waste your time doing a podcast unless they're going to make a video clip, because that's
Hmm.
the attention that you have.
It is. And it's so funny you say that, Brent, because again, the land of algorithms and tracking, as a brand owner, and I know we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on YouTube. Believe me, there's data galore. The clip viewing is about 20 times bigger than the actual episode,
Correct.
right? Even though you tag it back to the episode and you do all that stuff. Um, and yeah, I mean, you're right. And with the podcast production companies out there, like you need a lot of clips. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not just one or two clips. You need multiple clips. And um it's funny because I feel like you and I are both lifelong learners and constantly curious. And there's part of me when I launched this entrepreneurial part that was kind of fighting it, to be honest, because I was like, no, that's not the way I do it. Rah, 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 rah. Like it's not my authenticity. And I was like, you know what? Nope, I got to learn this stuff. Right. And so all of a sudden I'm like learning the YouTube algorithm, and I'm learning how to do Canva, and I'm learning how, like, like I was intimidated by it. And I was like, you know what? If you're truly a lifelong learner and constantly curious, Jim, you got to do this and just get in there and play. And I feel like the other clip, besides podcast company with a clip, only do a podcast, and I've told people this, only do a podcast if you're genuinely interested in talking to the person that you've got on. Like, do not do it as like, I'm going to do a podcast as a marketing vehicle, or I'm going to do a podcast because I'm going to get X new audience members, or I'm going to get X new subscribers to the book club. Because if you do it for those reasons, and again, capitalist pig, it comes off as a commercial, right? And,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and, I don't want to do commercials. I want to be in conversation. I want to be in community. And that's why when I did Jim Fielding and Friends, I wanted it to feel like that, because and Brent, like, you get asked, be on this podcast, be on this podcast. And now people pitch me saying I should be a guest on your podcast. And I say no a lot, because I'm like, I don't have a genuine connection to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's thousands of podcasts out there. Go be on another podcast. But in mine, I really want to have someone that I want to spend an hour with, and that we have a genuine connection. So, but you're so right. And I learn every day. Like, and because, by the way, these algorithms change constantly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, they change constantly. I feel like it's a game they play. Like, they let us catch up, and then they're like, "Ooh, let's spin the wheel," and like it's going to be all new again. But your 3-second thing is going to stick with me.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to go. Well, we've been personal, professional, but I want to talk about its principle number 11, two heads are better than one, which ironically is in my book as well. But it really was you guys talking about your partnership. And that was one of the questions I have, is that you've had this business partnership, but you've had this life partnership too. And I'm just wondering, how do you do that? I mean, I know you write about it in the book, but like, tell us the story of like how you make that work. Because I think that's fascinating too.
Well, it is a challenge, and you were talking at the top of the podcast about how there are very few business books written by gay founders. Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's another one. There may be, that's written by a gay married couple founders who have grown a business and written a book
Oh
about
wait, yeah.
it. So,
Brent, I lost you for a minute.
oh, okay, am I back?
Okay. I think you're back. Are you
Okay,
back?
I
Yeah.
can hear you.
You're back. Yeah, right. Okay, great. You're
Okay.
back.
Yeah,
You were talking about start over again, but like I talked about business books by queer founders, but
yeah, yeah.
then you said, okay,
Yeah,
go there.
and yes, those are very rare in and of themselves. But to have a book written by a married gay couple who have grown,
Mm,
I don't know if there is another one. I haven't
I
seen if
don't
there is.
think there is, but somebody
And
will tell us, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't I
someone
can't
will
think of
tell
one
us.
off
It'll
the
be
top of my
great.
head.
Well, we'd like to know. And yeah, I think for us, Josh likes to say that his inspiration in kind of coming out was his gay uncle, who, after the World War, went to live in France with his lover.
Mm,
They were both soldiers during the war, and then they both got jobs at the World Bank, and they lived in Switzerland for a long time, and then the south of France. And they were really, when Josh was kind of not even starting to question his sexuality, but his mother was before he was. And his mother said, "Oh, I think it would be great if you went over to visit your Uncle Arthur in France." And so Josh did, and it just kind of changed his life on how he thought about what being gay could be when he saw this couple had been
mm-hmm,
together for so many years. And,
mm-hmm,
they had just built this life together. And he, I think, asked them at the time, how did you build this? Because there were just so few representations of long-term gay
mm,
couples. And they said, you know what? You always have to have a project. You must always have
mm,
a project. And I think for us, the business
mm,
was our project. And so there
mm,
was just always different things that we could work on and focus on or separate, and go on our way about. But I think that was really critical. Always have a project. Now I think for some couples, children are the project, right?
mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. That's the project that you're working on. But for us, the business was the project. And I'd say early on it was really stressful. Like I would say the first 5 or 6 years, we didn't pay ourselves a salary, so it was always
Mm,
like hand to mouth,
mhm,
and so finance was always the biggest struggle for us, like
mhm,
arguing over the finances. And one day I remember we were sitting in the truck in the driveway of the farm, and we had this epic blowout about the finance.
mhm,
And because at that point we were both like every day checking the bank account, and it's like
mhm.
$8, $7, and so you're just constantly working yourself up about it. And so we had this huge blowout, and finally I said, you know what? There is no need for both of us every day to be worried and perseverating on down to the penny what is in the bank account. So I am going to surrender that to you.
Mm,
So I am going to trust you implicitly with the finances, and I know that you're going to be on top of it.
mhm,
And so that from that moment came how we structured the whole rest of every decision making in the company from that point on. It's called the 51% rule. And whoever
mm,
between the two of us had the most either interest or passion or fear around a
mhm,
certain topic, and it could be anything
mhm,
like what color was this going to be, or what was the formulation going to be like on this product. Whoever was the most passionate about that would get the 51% of the decision making.
mhm.
And 51% is critical because it's not like you have 100%,
For
because
sure.
that means that you are expected as the person of the 49% to argue and fight and make sure that your opinion is heard all the way up to that point of impasse where there's like you're stuck, and then the
Mhm,
other person gets to execute, to get to throw in their 51%.
mm,
And what that does is, one, it makes sure that the 49% person is heard in the decision making process, but
mhm.
also because you have had to, the person with the 51% had to fight and to demonstrate and to lay out the data. They have like fallen on their sword of why they're the right one, right?
Yeah,
They don't want to fail. And so they're going to
yeah.
fight even harder to make sure that whatever the decision they made.
Oh,
And so and I think a lot of our team members, who we have about just under 100 employees now, and I think a lot of them and their teams do the same thing. Like even without they don't call it the 51% rule, but they see how we have operated, and they.
but this is the two heads are better than one principle. And by the way, listeners and viewers, what Brent just shared about running the business, to me, it's like Brent for president, because to me, that's democracy, right?
Mhm.
And I'm not going to go political here, but like we know what the results were in the last election, which by the way, were, I believe, pretty much 51-49,
Close,
right?
yeah, very close.
Right, really close. And this is what I keep saying. I was a political science major in college, but I keep saying that like this is what we've lost in America
Mhm.
is civil debate and discussions, and the minority majority discussions, and the minority presenting their point of view with facts, which you mentioned. I love that. And by the way, arguing, like arguing,
Mhm.
that's what Congress used to be, that's what city councils used to be. And arguing without degenerating into fighting and finger pointing and bullying and everything.
Mhm.
And I mean, what you just laid out, I mean, to me, like all of our politicians should take your kindness class and listen to you guys, because that is to me living in a democracy and being in a partnership in 51-49. It also is making me realize one of the things that I miss the most in my own journey is I'm both sides. Like I'm a total solopreneur, right? And so I am the one like, oh my God, they haven't paid me yet. Like I'm having to track down people
Mhm.
paying me for the speaking gigs or the
Mhm.
accounts payable. And I'm like the invoicer and stuff. And I keep saying, I want to get the business to a point where I can bring in a partner because I'm used to having someone to bounce ideas off of. And by the way, I don't want to have all the answers. Like I don't know all the I never did my entire corporate career, and
Mhm.
I need and so I have a network of truth tellers, and friends that I'll be like, can I please just bounce this off of you? Like, I'm not sure if I should invest in this for the business, or, even when like I was launching the podcast, I asked a lot of people because I'm used to having that kind of kitchen cabinet
Mm-hmm.
of opinions and debates. And I miss that. It's what I miss about being part of a bigger team. I think I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now,
Mm-hmm.
but it is what I miss. I
Well, and
miss that.
we talk, and I'm so glad you said that because we talk a little bit about that in the book in a different
Hmm.
section. But how do you decide who is going to be your first hire, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's exactly, you can't think of it that way. Like, who is going to be the 49%, right?
Mhm.
For these decisions, and that's
Yes.
really
Well,
important.
and you also have, I don't know if it's in this principle, but like the many hands make light work
Yeah.
principle,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Correct.
And I miss that. I definitely have people, like that support me or advise me. But again, I grew up going to an office every day, like going to a place where I would have human interaction, and now I'm working out of my house, and there's so many benefits that come with that. And but I miss it. I miss the physicalness of going somewhere for sure.
Mhm. It's so funny, Jim. When we've been throwing out these proverbs: two heads better than one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Many hands make light work. And
Yeah.
for those who haven't looked at the book yet, that's really how we structured the entire book. And the reason it's
Totally.
called Goat Wisdom is not because we started on a goat farm. It's because greatest of all time wisdom. And
Yes.
the way we structured the book was that each chapter takes these old proverbs that many of us have heard over and over and over.
Hmm.
And we say, you know what? These proverbs have been around for hundreds of years. They've been passed down. They are tried and true. And
Yes.
they are how you create a foundation for any type of relationship. It could be a business relationship, it could be a personal relationship.
Yes.
They are going to work for you. And then what we did was we looked through all of the social psychology literature, the business psychology literature, and found the studies that had been done that basically prove that these proverbs are truthful and factual, and that's how people have built businesses. And the aside that I love is that so many of these proverbs come from agrarian culture. They're farms,
Yes.
because guess what? Farmers were the first entrepreneurs. You
For
know,
sure.
and it's just how you build a good foundation.
I mean that work, I mean, it comes out in everything you do, that work ethic and that respect. I mean, that respect for history, that respect for heritage, the respect for the land, like the respect for the natural materials of the goat milk. Like, I mean, it comes out in everything you guys do. And I think probably why I was drawn to your brand too. I think, growing up in the Midwest, like I did, I mean, we were not agrarian, but we were not far from farm country, right?
Mhm.
And I had farming in the family. And I think I loved all my time in LA and like living in cities, but I would always need to get back to nature. Like I would
Mhm.
always, like if I couldn't touch a real tree, not like a fake tree, like in Beverly Hills, like I needed to be in like, and I needed to feel grass, right? Like I needed to feel dirt. Like,
Mhm.
I think it's why I plants everywhere. Like there's things that
Well,
I think just ground me that I
for
needed.
sure. I mean, it's the same. Like, you work in Hollywood or you're working at Disney. Like,
Yeah.
so much of it is artifice in the production side, right? You're like,
Yes.
oh, that's
Yes.
just
Yes.
that's not a real house. That's just a thing, or that's astroturf.
Yeah. Yeah,
And so
exactly.
you do get that longing for something that is real. And I think maybe people who work in industries like that um, come to that realization much sooner than people who don't. And then also, I
Mhm.
think there's just, growing up in the Midwest or working on a farm, there's just a
Mhm.
pragmatism and a self-sufficiency
Very much, very much.
that people, and so much of what you see, and this goes back to social media and the attention span
Mhm.
and whatnot, is that everything that you see, all the advice that you see, is five easy ways to. Uh, Here's the hack for this,
Mhm.
and you just cannot hack your way
Mm-mm.
through a legacy business. You can
Mm-mm.
you can go far. you can make some money, but and that could be your goal, and that's fine if that's your goal, wonderful. But if you want to have something that's going to stand the test of time, that's not going to cut it. Like,
Yeah, no, I was going to say the sustainability, right?
mhm,
And I think it's interesting that you say in I had a very successful, media retail business, but I always felt a certain amount of a fish out of water, but I think it also helped me maintain that perspective of I think I made it in Hollywood because I always was like, this isn't real, right?
mhm,
Like
mhm,
I knew like I think I have a really good bullshit meter. You know what I mean? Like
mhm.
I knew what we were doing and I knew we were doing wish fulfillment and magic making, but I also knew that it wasn't always real. That there was a ton to your
Mhm.
point of artifice in it. And but I had that grounding from my family and from how I was brought up
Mhm.
where I knew what real looked like. I think part of what happens for some people is they lose that counterpoint of being able to track that's real, this is fake, right? Like we're going through it with fake news right now, right? Like real fake. Cuz even now when I see a headline or a story and I'm getting so much better about not like overreacting where I'm like, okay, wait a minute, I got to go fact check that. Like
Mhm.
that, like,
Okay.
and sometimes the headline is correct, but I need to take the deep breath and be like, okay, wait a minute, I got to go fact check this and look at
Well,
different sources because
right.
that can't be right. Like
Well,
that can't be 100% right.
the headline is often true,
Hmm.
but sensationalized because you got three
Yes.
seconds.
It's trying to grab your
Um,
eyeballs. Yep.
right.
Grab the
Which is
eyeballs.
so funny because again, we talked about you have to like listen to like both sides. I think,
Hmm.
and I always think about this with Donald Trump,
Hmm.
in that years, even before he ran for presidency, he talked about the fake media, right?
Hmm.
The fake media, um, because he contributed to it. Like he called up as his public, like pretending to be his own
Yeah,
publicist and planted the story, right? So he understood there's not a
he
lot of
does.
fact checking. The print, and so he understood this is the nature of the game, and
Hmm.
I know how to play the game, and he did.
Hmm.
He knew how to play the game, and that's why he's
And he
president.
has been playing a long time. No,
Yeah.
Brent, to your point, and I say this, listen, you Dr. Brain, MBA brain, communications, brand builder, all that kind of stuff. I say this all the time. Marketing, PR, branding, what I've done, they get how to be on message. Like
Hmm.
they are incredible communicators. I don't like what they're saying and I don't like what they're doing, but I give them credit for being really, really good at communication
Yeah.
and making things short and digestible to your point, and they say it over and over and over again until it all of a sudden becomes fact even though it's not fact. And I I've just been working really hard again, being part of the minority of like, okay, we have got to get on message here, people. Like, we have got to get, like, our message is all over the place, and our message can't be they're wrong and we're right, because that's not a message,
And
right?
it's not true. It's not
It's
true.
not, it's
Yeah.
not. And there's learnings underneath it all. There's things that are being done that did need to be fixed. I
Yeah.
mean, and
And,
so it's hard because it's under a sea of other stuff and you're kind of overwhelmed every day. But again, that's me being an active listener. That's me
and
asking for answers, right?
And
Like,
let me I know we're coming up to the end of
no,
our,
no, we're good. I have two more
but
questions for you, but
okay,
we're
but
good.
let me bring it back full circle, because what you're just talking about in the listening and the learning and the
Mm-hmm.
applying is also what you touched on with kindness. And are
Mm-hmm.
we an unkind world? And
Mm-hmm.
it's partly because we have forgotten that at the root of kindness is empathy. And a lot
Yes.
of times people just think empathy is just means that you're sympathizing with someone and like saying, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're going through." No,
Mm-mm.
empathy means that you are mentally, sometimes physically, but at least mentally, putting
Mm-hmm.
yourself in the head of the person you're trying to understand, and you are trying to
Yes.
view the world through their context of their entire life, through
Yes.
their eyes, and you're trying to understand why they are thinking the way they are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And in our 3 second headline clickbait, we are not doing that.
Mm-mm.
We're not an unkind culture. We're a culture who is not taking the time for empathy.
Yeah, we're like too busy. I think
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Like we're Again, short attention span. I
Yeah.
think you're absolutely right. Okay, I have 2 questions for you that are perfect for this. The
Yep.
first, looking back with all of this wisdom now, what would you tell 25-year-old Brent that you wish you would have known when you were 25 that you know today?
Well, I'll spin this for entrepreneurs or business founders,
Sure.
because this has been the key to our success. Aside from everything else, that has happened and that we've done, we have always entered every single relationship with first thinking, how am I going to make that person or their product or their whatever better?
Mm,
How am I going to deliver for them? And by virtue of that, it is going to deliver for me. And that's just how every collaboration we've done, when I said we'd do this podcast, I'm like, how am I going to push out this podcast? Like, how am I to tell people about the book club? Like, I always enter every relationship, and it could be small negotiation, big negotiation. How am
mhm,
I going to over deliver for the person on the other side of the table? And I think if you just
mm.
go through life thinking that way, the fortune will come to you.
Oh my God. Okay. I had another question, but I can't top that. So oh my God, this has been so amazing, Brent. Now, okay, let's do the plug. Goat Wisdom is the book. They can find it wherever great books are sold, but also at elstora.com.
Correct.
You can sign up for the Leading with Pride book club, and it can be your first book in the program. And your first book is, I think, $1 now, right? Because
Woo!
when you're joining the club. So
And,
this can be your first book,
and
December.
yeah, December. Can I just say
Yeah.
that RuPaul? We talk about different goats,
Yes.
and RuPaul and the team at World of Wonder who does
Yeah.
we talk about them as goats because they were goats. They
Yes.
were,
And
yeah.
RuPaul is one of the investors in
I know.
Elstora. So again, from the community, for the community, by the community. Obviously, Beekman1802.com for product, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Or
it's a
Ulta or QVC
Ulta.
or
Yeah, I was gonna say there's many places you can find them. Great holiday gifts, because this podcast is gonna come out right before the holidays. And I told you at the beginning when we're off air, I am coming to New York City to record in person again in 2026. You can bring Josh, we could do a lovely professional 3-way. I always have to say professional 3-way because I throw out 3-way very openly. Um, and it would be such an honor and pleasure. And
oh,
I feel like this is like I'm checking this off in my baby book, because I think back to watching you guys in 2011 and 2013, not knowing where this was all going to take us, and the fact that we spent this hour together in community, in conversation, being neighbors. I've been a neighbor. I'm now more of a neighbor. I would have come and wrapped soap. Like if I lived there, I don't think I could have made 7 seconds, but I would have done my best. I don't think you would have fired me. I would have come and wrapped soap.
well,
But
I know you're going to be opening up the advent calendar every day, so that's
totally.
consider
I
that
can't
your
wait.
wrapping
I
part.
can't wait. Yes, I told you I have your advent calendar. I'm not going to do a plug for the other one, and a chocolate advent calendar that will be part of the Fielding Langham Christmas this year.
Awesome.
Please tell Josh thank you and my best, and congratulations on the book. It is my honor to feature it in the book club, and thank you for taking the time and imparting your incredible wisdom for our viewers and listeners. It's been amazing.
And thank you, Jim. I learned a lot too.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed this show, make sure you leave a review, subscribe, and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We appreciate you and look forward to seeing you soon.
Choose who we love. Nobody's letting go. Chosen.